Hello, every folks, and welcome to the Stubborn Wretch challenge. Okay, so basically the deal for this challenge run is it's gonna take some patience. Okay, this is a particularly masochistic challenge run for those looking to exploit the hell out of any game mechanics they can potentially find. This is intentionally a type of challenge that is well, it puts you into about the worst situation imaginable just to see if you can figure out a way out. It effectively takes all of Tactics Ogre and turns it into a sort of escape the room puzzle, if you will. An escape the Valeria puzzle. So, here's the rules. So, first of all, it is a solo run. That part is all well and good. Solo runs in this game are fine and fun and dandy. However, we can take it a little bit farther. Because you cannot use any shops or crafting. You are strictly using whatever you can get your hands on. Whatever drops, whatever things you can kind of loot off of stuff, whatever kind of mission parameters you can achieve, that is how you end up getting your additional items. This leads to some very interesting results as time goes on, but either way. Essentially, you just give some added value to some stuff that otherwise would not see a whole lot of value. Additionally, you cannot reload. You're essentially stuck using just the autosave for the most part. Now, you know, if you're going around testing different save files, obviously make a hard save so you don't accidentally overwrite your autosave. But the idea is primarily to be stuck in a sort of Iron Man mode in your autosave. Now, unlike last time, this doesn't mean that you fail on death. In fact, it sort of creates this almost Dark Souls-esque situation where you are completely outmatched in every possible way. You're outmatched, outnumbered, outstatted, everything. But, you know, you still gotta find a way forward. But every time you end up reloading, you still have used up any class marks, charms, or whatever else that you've gotten to get there. Meaning that, in some cases, you can still wind up completely softlocking yourself. So, the idea is, again, to try and manage to get through the entire game, ideally up to Coda 4, in a way that, you know, escapes all of this somehow. Now, personally, I've found this absolutely fascinating, because back in the original PSP version, I mean, you could break so many mechanics in that one that it functionally became just a fascinating roguelike. I mean, on most runs, I would usually end up getting somewhere to Chapter 4, end up doing something dumb, and wind up dead for that reason. But in that one, you were usually trying to set up, like, automatic safe grinding spots and things like that, or going into maps repeatedly to go steal items. It was actually probably the most I've ever used the steal mechanic in that game. But the idea was that you were essentially trying to take the strengths and weaknesses of all your classes and kind of convert them into some sort of a win somehow in different situations depending on what you needed at any given time, which was absolutely fascinating. It just led to this constant feeling that you know, you were breaking everything in half, and again, that's a similar thing to what's going on here. It's kind of like a combination of, again, of like Dark Souls and Hitman in a way, and because in a lot of cases, you're trying to find ways to take out specific targets on the map while still somehow surviving, you know, up to go get up to that point. Like, early on in this thing, running around with just a basic warrior with a short bow was very ideal for quite a decently long time. Whereas right now, something like the ninja might suit the needs of this run a little bit better. For a while, it seemed like the knight was the main way to go forward, but ideally, at some point, I want to be running around as a rune fencer. So, the idea is you're basically taking all of these little bits and pieces and trying to puzzle a win out of them. Now, the reason that the PSP version was a Iron Man, and the reason that this one is effectively an Iron Man with resets in a way, is simply due to the fact that it just seems to flow better in this particular case. It allows you to do a lot of those riskier plays, while still not really necessarily losing progress, while still having stakes to the kinds of stuff that you're doing. Not to mention, defensively, there's actually quite a decent amount of play in this one, a lot more than I was expecting. Like I've said before, that the odds in this game feel very similar to something like FFT. So, like, for example, combining, say, an Avatar Stone and a Savage Horn to go make it rain while also upping your dodge has created situations where this guy was gladly able to dodge entire teams at once. The absolute minute differences of, like, for example, I was expecting to rely on crits and Rending Gale for a while, but then realized that, you know what, there's actually quite a decent amount of play to be had if we were to simply just avoid all of that and instead go for a hand axe with the ice finisher. Essentially, just the fact that you could use Insight in that particular case to chain 4 back-to-back finishers allowed for creating essentially more kind of overwhelming force against the healers in that particular map than the Rending Gale could, even though, you know, the Rending could essentially potentially one-shot stuff. If it couldn't, then that particular attempt was dead. But if a, say, more consistent scenario were to be achieved, say, you know, spamming that ice finisher, then it's something that would allow that particular map to be beaten. Or, for example, in the map that ended up following that, there was a ninja that would gladly take off half of a knight unit's health bar, while also potentially double rounding them in a lot of cases. And so the puzzle just instantly became, how exactly do I manage to get around all of this damage while also somehow one-shotting this guy? And the answer sort of became this this puzzle of abusing a Berserker, and specifically the way that the Berserker AI works, in that it checks if it can potentially go for a kill, and that's when it will take friendly fire damage. So I was creating a situation where I would have the enemy unit breached, would have this guy running around with a fizz and a crit card, and then at the same time would create a situation where he was at just low enough health to be targeted by the Berserker, but essentially have Phalanx activated, so the Berserker is looking at it and is like, well, I can't see this Phalanx, I'm gonna go for the kill, and he takes the swing. He damages the leader, who has previously been damaged by another ability, getting him to just about the 70% mark, and then essentially using that in combination with the other cards to kind of carry a crit into the win. Like, it's a weird puzzle, and again, it's functionally just trying to escape softlock hell, but I absolutely love it. It's been a lot more fascinating than I was really expecting it to be. Truth be told, given the what seems initially to be simplified mechanics in this version, I was really expecting a whole lot more not that, you know? I was expecting to see quite a bit more, potentially, potentially running into issues, let's say, with having a lack of mechanics to exploit. But it's been a real treat so far. And yeah, you know, the cards might be a little bit on the nose, but hey, different loadouts of different cards have provided different results in different situations, and it's been pretty darn amusing. Anyway, we'll see if anyone feels like giving this one a little bit of a shot here. Again, the resets are kind of just fair game this time around for what I would assume to be fairly obvious reasons, which, by the way, I can safely confirm that the slowdown on the leaden, or the dark weight, is 100% actually functioning properly, because I was doing Aerosol on this particular challenge, and ran into a situation where basically I was more or less tied speed-wise with her, but then ran into a situation where I ran up, shield bashed her, she landed the dark weight, and then effectively immediately took a second turn and took a second dark weight. I'm like, there's no way that turn possibly would have happened without her, without the slowdown working. But anyway, so that'll be that. Hopefully y'all find it interesting, and yeah, give it a bit of a go sometimes, might have some fun. Take care.